Our ESPN insiders were asked to weigh in on the Cowboys' offseason situation. Should they re-sign and or use the franchise tag on offensive stars Dez Bryant and DeMarco Murray? Well, here's what Louis Riddick had to say. He's a former director of personnel for the Eagles. He goes, I think the top priority here has to be to lock up Bryant. He's an elite talent entering the prime of his career at a top 5 position. You can't guard him one-on-one with his size, athleticism, and speed. So we're putting the Cowboys on the hook. Most of our insiders believe from that article that Dez is the priority. Skip, what's your take on this?
Stephen A. Smith, the more I think about it, I would make my priority signing Dez Bryant at any cost. And that cost just might be Megatron money cost. It's a lot of money they gave him in Detroit. Now, I'm not sure they got the bang for their buck they wanted from an injured Calvin Johnson last year, but it was 7 years, $114 million with $48.4 million guaranteed. Does Dez deserve that money? Yes. I say yes. He does require the attention of 2 defenders on almost every play. You can argue that because of that attention, that it cleared up the box a little bit for DeMarco Murray, running behind what I said back in August I thought would be the best offensive line in all of pro football. So you got the line going for you. You're not going to lose the linemen. You could even continue to beef up your offensive line. So I would be willing to let DeMarco go. And you remember we've had Herm Edwards on talking about years in which he rode hard. Remember Larry Johnson or even Curtis Martin when he was with the Jets? He said, boy, I just rode them as far as they would carry me. Well, then you look at their next couple of years after that, they weren't so good. Because when you carry the ball as DeMarco did, almost 392, it's almost 400 times. It's so much pounding, it's so much abuse, even though, God bless him, he did stay healthy for most of the year. Really all of the year. Broke his hand, but he got away with it. But I don't know exactly what you're going to get from him as he turns what? He's about to turn 27 years of age. I don't know for sure. I still love him as a player. I still wish I could have him on my team. But the insiders brought up this possibility. Adrian Peterson's out there. Now, he's 30 years of age, but Adrian Peterson played all of 1 game last year, so he's at least a fairly fresh 30 years of age. And you know, he grew up in Palestine, Texas. I don't know, it's 140, 150 miles from Dallas, but he grew up a big Cowboy fan. Remember the phone call that Jerry Jones had? It was slightly in the gray area.
Well, they just were chatting.
Yeah, they were just chatting, but Adrian called him. It's a little bit of tampering. I don't know, but it was in Don Van Natta's piece. Remember in ESPN the magazine?
I remember.
Okay, but the point is, would Adrian like to play for the Dallas? You better believe he would like to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Would he be as good a fit as DeMarco?
Yes.
I'm going to say yes. I think he would. Again, 30 years old for a running back. But this is one of the all-time great backs, and this is a physical freak of a workout warrior. He keeps himself in supreme shape, and now psychologically might be on a little bit of a mission to sort of get even with pro football because he thinks he was sort of unfairly removed from pro football last year.
First things first, I'm putting my money on Adrian Peterson before I put it on any running back in football, not just because of his ability, but because of his work ethic, his commitment to excellence on the football field, the fact that he's got the heart of a lion, he's not scared of anything, and now that he has a chip on his shoulder, I think the best of Adrian Peterson may very well be yet to come.
Maybe not the very best.
Well, I'm saying I know the 2,000 yard season, but I'm talking about along the lines of the next 2 years or so. All right,
I'll buy that.
I'm not talking long term because it is a running back. It is the running back position. But for a couple of years, yes, I do believe that. That's point number one. Point number two, that's not to knock DeMarco Murray in any way, because my first priority would be keeping DeMarco Murray if I could. But the priority must be Dez Bryant. And I'm going to go as far as to say this. I believe Dez Bryant deserves more money than Calvin Johnson right now. Dez Bryant should get $50 million in guaranteed dollars. You can make the case for him. Listen, first of all, Dez Bryant is a stud. Number two, he's violent in a good way on the football field. You're more worried about what he's going to do to you physically than he's worried about what's going to be done to him. Number three, Calvin Johnson, his abilities. We all know when healthy, he's the best receiver in the game. I'm not questioning the greatness of Calvin Johnson. I'm simply saying that his durability is a question mark. Therefore, his availability is a question mark. And last but not least, he doesn't have the intangibles that Dez Bryant has. Now I know they say that Calvin Johnson's a leader, and I'm not.
I don't know about
I'm not
that.
disputing it. I'm saying I don't know. I can tell Dez is. I can tell. Listen, there are certain dudes. Let me crystallize the difference for you. Matthew Stafford has made his share of mistakes over the years. We've never noticed that Calvin Johnson really had a problem with that because that's not Calvin Johnson's personality. Quite sure he talked to him. Quite sure he tried to motivate him. Quite sure he tried to encourage him.
He is a very nice man now.
Calvin Johnson is legitimately, incredibly, very, very nice man.
Yeah.
If Tony Romo, if he were on the sideline doing some of the things that Matthew Stafford have done over the last couple of years, do you know what Dez might do? I mean, if guys weren't doing their jobs, if they were slacking off in some way, if they didn't come to compete, could you imagine what Dez Bryant would do? When the Philadelphia Eagles rolled in the Big D and stomped the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day, who was it that was talking to them? We gonna see y'all. We'll see. And who was it who came on First Take and told us that Dez Bryant was like, that was LaShawn McCoy telling us, Dez Bryant was like, we're going to see y'all in a couple of weeks. We're going to see. And who was it that was on the field prior to the game and Skip was sitting there all giddy because I knew we were ready because Dez Bryant was on the field before the game, joined it up with Malcolm Jenkins. Let's go.
Yep.
You cannot teach those elements that Dez Bryant brings to the table that get you up for it. I am rolling with Dez Bryant all day long. And Skip, I'm going to say it again. He deserves right now to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL. He is that legit. He is that big time. And more importantly, he is that committed to excellence. Dez Bryant deserves his money. And if it is at the expense of DeMarco Murray, who I believe is the primary reason the Dallas Cowboys won this year.
I mean, you're making a case he should be MVP for a while.
Absolutely. Yeah. If despite all of that, you must keep Dez Bryant. You cannot lose him in that locker room or on that side.
You know, you sound like you work for Rock Nation, don't you?
I don't.
Okay, I know.
But I don't. You know what I'm saying? Trust me. Yes, they're not happy with a few things I've had to say over the last few months. Okay, and that's life. I understand it. I got a job to do.
I got it. Okay, so I brought this possibility up before on this show. Jerry Jones does have one option that the collective bargaining allows him. And I think you mentioned it in your setup. You can force that franchise tag on Dez. Bad idea.
Bad idea.
Because of whom you're dealing with here. Dez Bryant, as we all know, he's emotional, he's volatile, in a good way. It's a good rub-off factor on everybody. He has huge pride, but it's attached to huge emotions. Do you want him sulking? Do you want his head hanging, thinking, I'm making... I think the franchise tag would be 10 or 12 million, depending on how it factors out for a receiver, for the best wide receiver. Do you want him holding a little bit of a grudge against you going forward? Do you want his agent holding his Rock Nation people holding a grudge against you?
You don't want that.
You do not want that. You don't want it. It's not worth the trouble of what you might save back. I think this is the wrong guy to franchise tag.
This guy, I personally, and I have absolutely positively no knowledge of this, whether this is true or not, but I believe that's one of the reasons Dez got rid of the great Eugene Parker. Great Eugene Parker, a fantastic agent. Here's the thing. Because of the relationship with Jerry, he might have tried. I'm not saying Eugene would have done this, but he's expecting Jerry Jones to come to him and work with me here.
It's possible.
And you never know how that may have influenced things. But Dez Bryant, forget sulking. Dez Bryant is the kind of dude that'll come out and go like this. They didn't believe in me, man.
I know. He would.
They support me. We talking about family. We talking about the Dallas Cowboys. He ain't trying to look out for me.
So if his heart's not in playing football, you got a big...
His heart will always be in playing football. But it won't be in being cooperative. And an uncooperative Dez Bryant is not a good thing for the Dallas Cowboys.
Just quick
give that man his money.
I don't want to get back into this, but I will defend Eugene because he's done some great deals with Jerry Jones for his client. The Dion deal he pulled off back in '95 was sensational.
Please don't misconstrue. I'm not questioning anything about the greatness of Eugene Parker. I'm just talking about if you are a young guy that doesn't know or care about the history of Eugene Parker, you don't know all of that, and you don't care about it, so it doesn't matter.
Plus Rock Nation is now. It's like it's happening
popular,
now.
it's what people are doing. It makes
There's a lot of great, listen, there's a lot of, forgive me for saying this, but there's a lot of brothers doing a lot of great things. Rock Nation with Jay-Z is doing some great things with my man Juan. Absolutely phenomenal. But there's still the Bill Duffys, the Hank Thomases, Henry Thomases of the world, the Goodwin brothers. You know, you've got a whole bunch, Eugene Parker. You've got a few brothers that are doing great things as agents. And we talk about black folks in a lot of different situations, but rarely do we find ourselves talking about blacks in the agency business.
There are a few.
They are a few, and they are doing phenomenal work. So I want to take a moment to applaud them for that.
Carlos Fleming, shout out to you too as well.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
He's awesome.
Yes.
We leave it there. Coming up next, we talk about A-Rod. He says sorry, but is it too late? His apology and what it all means after the break.